Hi everyone and welcome to my Thank Artist Friday. Today I'll be showing you how to make this flower. Not this particular colour. The colour I want to go for is more cherry cobbler. This here was made out of the Attic Boutique designer series paper and using this blossom punch and two circle punches. So I'll show you how to make this flower in today's. Okay, so this one here is from the Timeless Type designer series paper, which runs out today. So if you wanted to place an order today, let us know. Let me know in Australia here. Our catalogue finishes today on Friday and the new one starts tomorrow. So I'm very, very excited to introduce some new stuff. Alright, so now using this punch, you need to punch it out 4 times. Alright. Now before we go ahead and punch out, I'm going to punch out the middle of this using a 3/4 inch circle. Just going in. It doesn't have to be exactly in the middle, but just going in and only doing it, actually do it to all of them, so then we're all the same wavelength. Alright, okay, so just grabbing a pen wherever you can find one or anything that you can use to roll the flowers around and up to create like a curve. You want to do it to all of those flowers, all petals and all flowers. I'm sure you don't want to see me do it to every one. Alright, okay, so this is now how it looks once it's all been rolled. You're just distressing the paper just a little bit. Alright, so one of these you will cut out a whole petal. Alright, so one of them will have a whole petal cut out. The other one will have a split like this. And the other one will have 2 petals cut out. Like that. Alright. Alright, and then one is left on its own. Okay, now just grabbing my snail. Actually, before we go ahead and do that, I wanted to ink up the edges just a little. Grabbing my cherry cobbler ink and my sponge, just inking the edges very slightly, just to bring that flower in, that colour of cherry cobbler in. And then also when you put cherry cobbler and cherry cobbler, it adds a little bit of depth onto the actual leaves. Alright, so I'll go ahead and do that to all the flowers. Also, while we're in the middle of sponging, punch out a 1 1/4 inch circle out of the same designer series paper. And because that's going to be the center of the flower and it's going to be like a little rosette. And to get that rosette, I don't know if I've shown you this before, but just taking your paper snips and going in a spiral motion in towards the center and just turning it. Alright, and then to get that, whoops, that rosette, you need to grab the end and roll it in. And you just keep rolling it. You can roll it as tight or as loose as you want. I tend to go tight, and then you can adjust it and make it big as you wish. Alright. Now to keep that bottom of the rosette in place and you get like a little circle at the end, you need to grab a glue dot and just adhere that down so it adheres the center of that down. And then what you can do is you can unwind this as on how big you want the center to be like. Alright, now while I've got some ink left on my sponge, I just wanted to ink the inside of the flower just a little bit like that. Alright, Okay, so let's start putting this flower together. Now using our snail, we have one whole one, and that's going to be the base. We then have got one where we've actually just put a slit in between a petal. So it's still intact, but one slit. Now, we just want to grab our snail and put adhesive down on one petal. And we want to overlap the petal so you get a 5-petal flower. So here, this blossom one has 6 petals. The next one we want to make is a 5-petal. And the next one we want to make is a 4-petal. So this is the one that has 5, and we cut one whole petal out. And we just do the same, and we overlap like that. And then this one here, the 4-petal, and we've taken 2 petals out, putting some snail on one. Now you can see here that the petals are actually now going up. To achieve these flower to be flatter, you need to grab your paper snips and just very carefully snip in between each petal. So what I'll do is I'll zoom in as much as I can. Here. And I'll make that a little bit clearer. What I mean is, in between each petal, not going all the way down, but you want to you wanted that split to be a little bit further. So you want to do this to the 4-petal one that you've placed together and the 3-petal one, because you can see the depth in that petal, and it will be hard to post a card like this in the mail. But if you do want it to be still bulky and you're not posting it and you want to give it as, by all means have the flower puff up. Alright, now at this stage you have to be rather careful, because mine broke, but you wouldn't notice it because it's all been adhered down. So let me refocus. Alright, so now all you need to do is slightly just bend it in like that. Very, very slightly bending it down and flattening it down. Okay? Alright, now why I've done that circle is because I found the more flowers I made, the pointier the ends got, and therefore it became really bulky in sticking it down. Alright, so now the trick to adhering these down is, all I've done is grab some glue dots under each level and towards the end, the middle. So keep the base down. See, you can see it's not completely center, but as you layer you're not going to notice it, and plus with the rosette in the middle you're not going to see the circle in the middle. Alright, so here is the 5-petal, and I'm going to lay that over the 6-petal. Right, so just getting some glue dots on that, and I'm alternating the petals, making sure I'm not sticking that down on my card, my actual mat. You can alternate the petals so you know it's not exactly over top of each other. Now you're then grabbing your 4-petal and being careful with your flower, because it gets fragile when you definitely paper snip the leaves a little bit like that. Again, be careful you don't stick it down onto the mat, which I keep doing. And here is the 3rd petal. Alright, I'll just grab one more glue dot to make sure that's going to be secure, and that goes there. And you can already see the dimension it's made to this flower, and also by curling the leaves. And you can also zhuzh it up a little bit just by making it that extra fluffy. Now, putting some glue dots on the rosette, as well. I put 2 on that one so to help make it secure. So isn't that pretty? Now you can either I put a pearl in this one, and if you can see that I actually made the rosette quite large in the center, but this one I'm actually happy to keep that rosette in the middle a little bit tighter. Alright, so now let's place this on a card. I have got a basic grey cardstock here, and I've got some basic grey designer series paper from the pack, the big 40 sheet pack, value for money, and also cherry cobbler and whisper white. Now you can see the contrast, the huge contrast it can make. Now the stamp we'll be using is from Sweetheart, and this is going out of, well, it's retiring by the end of the day, so make sure you get it. And I'm going to be using like the stem and leaves from this set. This is a fantastic set. This actually coordinates with the punch and the heart treat cups, and the heart treat cups are also retiring. Alright, so let's mount this stamp. Alright, so I'm going to mount this stamp using D block, and I've also just grabbed my basic grey ink. Alright, I think I'm happy with how juicy that is. Grabbing my Whisper White cardstock. I'm just going to make sure that I'm going to center this where I want it. Alright, inking it up. Placing it there. Actually, I might try that again on the other side. See which side's better, I suppose. Hey. And a little up, I think, this time. There we go, that's heaps better. Like that one. Okay, and then I'm just going to, before I adhere the flower down, I'd like to actually put this down, because if you try and adhere the Whisper White, it gets too bulky using your snail. Except the glue dots want to get down on there already. Alright, so this is the side I don't want. Using my snail, except it's getting... Okay. And actually what I might do is, before adhering that down, I want to add slight sponging. Very slight, just using the leftover ink on the sponge. You don't have to do this, but I do like my sponging. And since we did some sponging on the actual flower itself, I'll continue the sponging thing. So just placing this card together now. So I'm just going to put the DSP, the Designer Series paper. All Stampin' Up paper are double-sided. So this one here has writing behind it, very fine writing. But I'd like to stick to the polka dot theme that's actually on the stamp itself there. And I might use dimensionals to pop that up. Okay, and that's just going to go in the center, and I will use dimensionals for this as well. I really like how sticky these dimensionals are. Okay, there you go. So that's my thank card. It's Friday. It doesn't have a sentiment. I think it's handy to have some cards that don't have any sentiment, because you never know when you just need that extra card, if it's a quick thanks, if it's just a quick happy birthday. But look how awesome, and that's so dimensional. that flower. It's just turned out so beautiful. Alright, so thanks for watching Thank God It's Friday. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and don't forget to visit and like my page on Facebook and keep an eye on my blog joherbert.com. Alright, see you later.